Justin. Hey, you did? What? Heard me that day? The one day I got on?
Yeah, it was later on was it a Friday or Saturday night? One of the two. But I heard you talking to somebody. I want to say they were from Tennessee or something like that. Couldn't remember exactly, but tried coming back to you, but I was running sleep power on the GX60, so I guess you probably didn't hear me. The band was probably pretty long, but I did.
I'm just typing something in here. I'm going to log Dan on my QRZ that we had this QSO, just so I remember his call. So I'm trying to do that right now while I'm talking to you. And for some reason, it's not. Oh, there it goes. Okay, now it's working. Yeah, so I got on, and I was using my rice box, my Yaesu 990. And what's nice about the 990, it has good audio quality. And I realized the modulation of AM on those rice boxes is low-level modulation because of where the injection of the audio is, as opposed to the big, traditional AM transmitters where they inject it in the plate. And I think that was grid modulation or something similar to that. But anyway, what was nice is I noticed the audio is pretty good quality on the Yaesu FT990, but the problem is I don't have a lot of power. So now I have an amplifier, I just haven't hooked it up yet since I moved. Last time I used it was in Ishpeming. But what's nice is you can use that to drive an amp, and then you can get your power up to 100 watts. So now I'm considering hooking the amp up for that purpose only, so that I can drive it, so I can get on AM more. So my signal was kind of low, maybe 30 watts at the most, 25, something like that. But I did not hear you come back to me, so sorry about that. But the guy was talking about, I'm starting to vaguely remember now, and I'm looking at my logbook here too. He was talking about using radio signals as well as magnetic waves or something, I don't know, something like that to talk to other galaxies. I mean, he was way out there.
Yeah, I think I came in towards the end of that conversation. I remember, now that you mention it, I do remember some strange things. And like I said, I thought he was from, like Tennessee, or I thought he was a 4-call, if I remember correctly. But, well, it's kind of funny that was like the one time you were on and I heard you. Like I said, it was really late. It was, or it might have even been early, 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I used to hang around on 75-meter AM a lot. But I'd kind of been off HF for about 20 years. When I got my General Advanced and Extra was like in 96, 97, that area. And I had a lot of E.F. Johnson equipment and Beat Kit equipment on the east side of Green Bay at my parents' house. And then I kind of got out of HF at home for a long time. And I just threw up an end-fed halfway back in on October 15th. So I've only really been back on HF since. And yeah, like I said, the time that I heard you was sometime between then and, I don't know, probably was October, give or take, something like that. But yeah, and I think you were telling him that you used to have some vintage AM stuff too. Well, same thing, like, the DX100, that's an SGM radio, screen grid modulated instead of plate modulated, like, I had a DX100 and a Viking 1 and a Viking 2, and, those that were high level. But yeah, it's fun to play around with. I mean, there's some guys that get on that have some really cool stuff. I don't know if you've ever heard Robert W0 voice modulated carrier from, he lives out west towards Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls area, and he converts and repairs broadcast stuff. And then there's the guy, KC8ZUL, I think, from Lower Michigan. The guy's got pole barn garage set up, and I think he's got 15 or 20 different AM broadcast transmitters in there.
Yeah, I lived in northern Minnesota for 5 years, from 98 until 2003, and I got into AM when I was up there. I had a HQ129X receiver, which I still have. I have that. And I had a DX100, and then I sold. It's interesting how this all worked out. So I sold the DX100 and the HQ129X before I moved back to the UP. Then I got to the UP, and then somebody else sold me an HQ129X for $5. And then before I moved to Green Bay, I sold that. And then I moved to Green Bay, and then somebody else has an HQ129X for sale down here, and I bought that one. So now I decided, I've owned the HQ129X 3 times, and I decided that's it, I'm keeping it. I must be meant to have one because I keep getting one after I sell it. And it's after a move. So I still got my HQ129X down there. I wish I would have kept that speaker I had with the previous one. Oh well. And I don't have a DX100 anymore. And I didn't realize that. I thought that was plate modulated. I never looked into it. I have a schematic for it and everything, but I just never looked into it. So, that's good to know. So, and that sounded okay on the air, so maybe it's not so bad. I always had this idea that if you're using grid modulation, it's horrible sounding. But, just low audio. But, anyway. But I found that the FT990 works great, and the audio sounds great. I just need to drive up the level a little bit. So that combined with a Meritron amplifier does wonders. I just need to make room on my desk to set all that up. And I don't have room because I have a computer there, and I have an HQ129X, and it all takes up space. So, but that's really neat. I remember Robert. I had a nickname for him. I met him before, and then I don't know. I forget what his nickname was. Anyway, we had a nickname for him up in Minnesota, and so I met him. And ZUL, I think, was from the UP. I think, I believe, and there's a whole bunch of them. So. Yeah, we used to get on 75 and 40 all the time back in the turn of the century. So around 2000, I was on all the time on 75 meters AM. KB0P.
This is the K.
KB0P, K0RPL. And you are correct, sir. The DX60 is plate modulated. I was thinking the Johnson Navigator that I had, that was screen grid. Actually, I also had a Johnson Adventure that had a little screen grid modulator that you plugged into the back, into the octo socket. And that was just a little CW novice transmitter, a single 807. And then it had a screen grid modulator that you plugged into it. Kind of an interesting setup. But, I got a DX60 and a HG10. DX60B, HG10B VFO, and the HR10B receiver. So, I had a DX100, the original, not the B version. I got mine from WN9U from Whitefish Bay. Went to pick it up. I think I was 14 or 15 at the time, and mine had the primary of the modulation transformer had a short, and it technically what it was, it was in the big black, transformer case, and then the transformer was potted with that, asphalt or whatever the heck you want to call it, tar. But one of the windings on the primary had touched the inside of the black case, and every time you hit the plate voltage, bang, away it would go. So I, at the time, looked around and I couldn't find a transformer, and so I thought, well, it's just the primary, it's just shorted the case, so let's lift the entire case of the transformer off of the chassis and put it on phenolic standoff, and then it doesn't matter if it's shorted to the case anymore because it's lifted from chassis ground. So I ran that DX60 for a long time. I think I probably got rid of it in 2004, 2005, something like that.
You guys are old school, W9DLN.
Okay. Hey, Dan. HT here. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, what am I doing? Trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Shoot. I'm logging the call here. I just got lost. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm back. Anyway, I'm trying to multitask with an HT in my hand. So I'm holding an HT in one hand, and I'm holding my wireless, or not wireless, my mic, external mic in the other hand, and I'm trying to type on my laptop, which is balancing on my lap. So, yeah, I had a DX100, and the DX100 I got had handles on it. Somebody had modified it and put handles on the front, which looked really cool. They were chrome, and they were kind of rounded. They weren't the square type handles. They were rounded, and so you could pull the front out real easy because you had nice handles there for that. And my audio went out on it, on the microphone, and of course, because it was a transmitter, so it's the only audio there is. But it turns out I had a bad, what was bad? Something near the mic jack. There was a bad cap or something that went bad, and I had to fix that, and then my audio came back again. That's interesting about the short out in the modulation transformer. That's really interesting. And then I had a Collins. I got a picture of it on the internet. If you look on my webpage, you'll see my Minnesota station. It's kind of a dark. I wish I would have used flash when I took that picture. But you can see the Collins, I think it was, that's in there. I didn't have that very long, but it was a transmitter also. And same size as the DX100, of course. It's huge. So, yeah, if you go on my QRZ page and look at my picture of my ham shack in Minnesota, well, my Michigan one too, but in Minnesota, you'll see the DX100 and the HQ129X and all that. And I got to get myself a new picture now for my new shack that I have now. So I have a history of pictures in my QRZ page, starting from my first one in 1984. So pretty cool. All right, hey Dan, KV0P.
Hey guys, don't want to interrupt too long, but yeah, you guys are old school. The reason I broke in is because I just got rid of my Heathkit HR10B, the first novelist receiver that I bought. I had an Apache and burned that thing up. But then I ran for many, many years with a DX60 and worked all over the world for it back in the mid to late 80s. So, yeah, I know exactly what you guys are talking about. I don't know if I ever did voice on that rig. Back in the day, I always was and always still am CW. Back to you, Paul.
Well, let's see here. I'm trying to think if Yeah. So before my first HF rig, I believe, my first HF rig, my first ham radio I ever got was a Kenwood 520, and I got that in '84. But prior to that, that's what I was trying to think of the timeline here. Before I got that, I got it during December of 1984, and I had to pay for half of it. I worked that summer, so I had to pay for half of it, and my parents paid the other half, and I got it for Christmas. Bought it used from a ham in town, and it was a fairly new rig for its day, because that was not that old of a rig at the time. So it was an excellent rig. But prior to that, the very first, technically, I guess, if I want to be really, accurate, the first ham radio rig I ever bought was the HR-10B Heathkit all-band receiver, well, not all-band, HF band receiver. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I owned one of those, and that's what I had first. And when I was still learning the bands and where everybody was. And then I got rid of that eventually. And then I ended up with another one in 1996 or 97. And there's a picture of that on top of my DX100 in one of my pictures on QRZ. When I lived in UP before I moved to Minnesota. So then I kept the DX100 and replaced the HR-10B with a HQ-129X. And I've now been blessed to own a 129X since 1998. Seems like once I owned it, I never got rid of it, really. I sold them, but I kept getting them back, like yo-yo string. So I've owned a HQ-129X now for 25 years. That's a nice receiver, by the way. I really like that radio. Go ahead, Justin, if you're still in there, KV0P.
Yes, I am. Just pulled into the parking lot at Fruit Farm. Got to run in and grab a couple of lag bolts. But, we could talk about this stuff forever. I looked at your picture there. And looks, it's a little grainy, but it's either a 32V2 or 32V3. I don't, without having a little bit better picture, I can't tell for sure, but there's a couple of distinguishing characteristics that are different between the two, but it's one of those two. So, then I see you got another ham that I knew, KB0ROB. He had checked in a lot to the Midwest Country Cousins net on 3972.5. I don't know if he's still alive or if he still checks in, but I know back in the 90s he did.
This is the K9GB
Oh yeah, he's still alive. So he started the Midwest Worm something, whatever, and I got a certificate for that. He had to build a 1929 TNT transmitter and get on the air with it. And Harold, I met him when I moved to Minnesota. So I think I wrote about it on here, didn't I? I don't know. I'm trying. I zoomed in on that picture. Yeah, you're right. That's like I said. I wish I would have taken that picture with some light, because that was my first digital camera I ever had, and that was a very dark picture. But that's my picture, and I wish I would have taken a better picture of that. But you can see my DX100, and then you can see. No, you don't see the HP 10. I don't have the HP 10 on there, or HR10. Surprised, I thought I had that on there. So, and I don't show a picture of my amplifier either. Interesting. Thought I had that on there. So, yeah, he made us build these TNT, Midwest Glowworm. He made us build these TNT transmitters with a Cunningham tube, at number, I forget what the tube was, number 29 or something like that. So that was a lot of fun. KV0P, go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, like I said, that's how I was looking at your page, and I scrolled down, I caught ROB, and I'm like, hey, I know that call. Yeah, used to check into that net. And actually, I started checking into it again here since October. But so, okay, well, hey, I'm going to run in here to Fleet Farm and grab what I need. It was nice reminiscing. Yeah, always a good time. And just as a little jab at you there before I leave, so you had 3 HQ129Xs. So did you have one with the clock working yet?
No, that one doesn't have a clock. You're thinking of the one, actually, let's see, Michigan Tech had that one with the clock. That was a different model. I think that was a 130 or something. I can't remember the model of the one with the clock.
Yep, you're absolutely right. I think it's either the 130 or the 140, something like that. But yeah, I know whenever you get them, the clocks aren't working. So, oh, that's right. But you're right. Yep. Never mind then. I was trying to be funny. So, we will catch you guys later. Run in and grab my light bulb. K0RPL.
Okay, we'll see you later. Go ahead, Dan. I'm going to get going here pretty quick.
Yeah, you said that a while ago. 73, W9 DLN listening on 147.12.
Well, that's my life. You know, I say I'm clear, and then about 3 hours later, I really am. That's how it goes. All right, KB0P clear.
Stay working. Once you retire, it gets even worse. Bye-bye. W9 DLN, Cribbets, Wisconsin, listening on 147.12.